This episode of the Barry Chronicles is proudly brought to you by Bariatric Support Australia.
Hi everybody, I'm Tash.
And I'm Damo.
And we are so excited to bring you this week's episode of The Barry Chronicles. Damo, this week...
I love it.
We have some opinions, don't we?
We do. And the title of today's podcast is If They Aren't Feeding, Fucking or Funding, It's None of Their Business.
So please understand that if you have sensitive ears, it might be best to scroll to the next podcast. Because we have lots and lots of lovely ones where we don't use explicit language. Crass. You're a crass boy, Damie.
I am. I should be smacked.
And I'm a naughty, naughty girl at times. So anyway, we are going to dive on into this topic. Splash. Here we go. So recently on Bariatric Support Australia, our beloved Facebook community, we have had all of the things that we always have when there's a lot of people and a lot of different opinions. And opinions are wonderful things. We can all have them. It is amazing. We like that. We like that people are themselves. What we do not like is when we try to force opinions onto other people, or when we try to act like an expert in a particular field when in fact we're all on this journey for, pretty similar reasons. There was something that went on with food. We consumed a lot of it, and then we decided that we would go down a surgical weight loss journey path. So, Damo, you said that title.
I did.
If they're not feeding, fucking or funding, then, perhaps they need to keep their opinions to themselves.
Yeah, I think I find it strange how people can be so comfortable commenting, especially a stranger, commenting on something that they're doing. Like, if it's not directly hurting you, then what's the issue?
Yeah, I remember a long time ago, like probably in the first 6 to 18 months after my bariatric surgery, I remember you encouraging me to cool my roll a few times when I was, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? This poor person, like there's all these things going on and they're having this or that, or, what if this happens or what if that happens? And I realized fairly quick smart that, number one, we're not responsible to fix others. As much as we care and as much as we would love to be able to help, we can, the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. Well, the same is very true in anything in life, but particularly after bariatric surgery, we all have different opinions on the way that is to be walked out. Even a lot of the dietitians have different opinions. A lot of different schools of thought exist around how we should walk out the journey post-op. You only have to be in a support group for 3 seconds and mention the word CrossFit, and you will see that there are so many different schools of thought.
Still gives me shivers.
I know. There are certain words that we just know are going to bring out all the opinions. And like we said earlier, opinions are awesome. They're wonderful. And we don't want everybody to feel like, hey,
they're like assholes.
We can't.
Everyone has one.
Yes, we do. Like we all do have opinions, and they're all valid. What isn't a good thing, in my opinion, is if we start trying to force others to feel a sense of shame over their choices because they're different to mine. That's not okay. And a lot of it, from what I've noticed, I think that a lot of the shaming comments and things that are made on bariatric portion sizes, plates and things post-operatively comes back to that deeply inground sense of diet culture that so many of us have grown up with.
Yeah.
There is still this pervasive idea that some food is good and some food is bad. Now, I do not believe that. Again, you're entitled to your opinions and your beliefs on that, but I don't believe that there are good and bad food. I just don't believe it. I believe that we are responsible for how we decide to eat and the way that we make up our day. And we will reap the consequences of those decisions. And it's that simple. It's not to do with food having a moral compass or being a bad food. It would be how I choose to consume that food. For example, tonight it is State of Origin. And in this house, State of Origin night is nachos night. And we don't just go low key with the nachos. We do the queso, like we do the whole thing. It is a...
What do you call cheese that's not yours?
Yes, nacho cheese.
Sorry.
That is such a family joke around that. Anyway, so we do that whole nachos thing, and it is not a low fat version. It is full fat cheese. It is a meaty, delicious sauce. It has like a cheesy white sauce on top with cheese on top of that. That thing is calories personified. Like it is calories in an edible form.
It's so yum.
And it's great. And I will enjoy that tonight. Will I do it again tomorrow? No, I won't.
Yeah. You're not going to get up and have it for breakfast.
No, I'm not.
And lunch until all the leftovers
Until it's
are gone.
gone. Because there won't be leftovers, because we will make enough that it is enough for tonight for everybody that's going to be here. And then it will be gone tomorrow. There won't be more food of that type, and life will go on. I will carry on. It will not affect me. It will not be a good or a bad meal. It will just be a meal because...
And I think this is where misunderstanding or people forget. They might look at a picture that you could take of that nachos and they frame a whole thought process around it going, oh, how could you eat that? Well, at 6 years post-op, you want to be eating some regular food.
You want to be able to enjoy your life. Your food choices, your life is like the very, like though that first year after your bariatric procedure, you do things, in a certain way to achieve a certain result. I made significant changes in my life, in my eating habits during the first year to 18 months. I also made an active decision that I was going to change my relationship with food because I needed to. It was just a fucked up mess.
Yep.
I used food to comfort myself. I used food to fill places in my heart that food are not meant to fill. All it did was, fill my arteries with excess fat. Like I was not eating in a way that was conducive to the goals that I had for my life. So I changed
the
that.
visceral fat.
Again, a family joke. Oh, God. Yes. Anyway.
It's become a thing, though. Like,
It has.
It was
it
even
has.
getting talked about at a conference that I was at on the weekend.
It has.
The visceral fat. And I had to, I actually didn't hide my laughter. I giggled because, I don't know.
No, well, we do
It's a
know.
funny word.
We have, and we also have a loved one that really likes to talk about
The visceral fat.
the visceral fat. Oh, dear. Anyway.
It was like my doctor said to me, Damo, I think you've got a fatty liver. I said, well, that just goes along with the rest of me.
Oh, dear. But when it comes to our food choices, when it comes to our food choices and the things that we're deciding to eat, or the way that or the posts that we put up online, I don't feel like we should be making judgments about what people have on their plates. We don't know the context behind that one plate of food. We have no idea. And it can be such a triggering topic for so many people. Yeah, it always feels like a minefield, doesn't it? Whenever a post comes up and people are asking for thoughts or opinions on particular things.
It was like a couple of weeks ago, we were in Melbourne for our daughter. She had to see a cardiologist and have some tests done on her heart. And she has a cafe in Melbourne that she loves going to. It's called Brunetti's. And you can bet after an 8 a.m. doctor's appointment, we went to Brunetti's for breakfast. And she had a tiramisu for breakfast. Someone just walking past could look at that and go, oh, wow, they're letting her have tiramisu for breakfast. Well, you can bet your bottom dollar that after, something like that, if she wants to have
whatever she wanted to have,
whatever she wants, I'm going to do that for her because
she
I
asked
spoil
for
her.
it.
And I'm happy to do that. But did we also then walk about 5 kilometres to the aquarium, and all the way through the aquarium, and all the way around Melbourne? So sometimes we can have a thought about something, but we're not seeing it in the context of that person's day, in that person's life.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's all right to want to go out and enjoy ourselves and have some fun and do some stuff that we wouldn't normally do, because desserts aren't normally part of our breakfast routine.
Yeah, that's right.
But who cares?
I think it's so important that we remember that life post-bariatric surgery does not have to be made up of misery and the salty tears of all of your grief because you have had a procedure that has significantly decreased the size of your stomach. We're meant to go on and enjoy our lives. That is the point. It is not who eats the smallest wins. It is not who has the most complications wins. It's not who has the most intolerances wins. It's really about living our own personal story out and running our own personal race and doing it as kindly as we can, remembering that other people are on their journey and they are experiencing their own ups and downs, their own, good things in their trials. We all have things that go on in our lives, and it's really important that we be kind to each other as bariatric people. When we see a food post online, when we see somebody sharing their plate or whatever it might be, if we don't particularly agree with those food choices, we'll just scroll on by.
Yeah.
We don't need to try to give our 2 cents, 1 cent, half a cent's worth, because again, we don't know the full context. We don't know everything around that situation.
Something interesting that I've just sort of been reading a little bit, because it's not just online that this happens. It can be out in the public. It can be at
100%.
family events. So for people that sort of are going through that, and you might be coming up to, could be your first family function since surgery, and maybe you haven't told anyone, or work function. I think it can help if you've got, I guess, some answers prepared when or if people ask these questions. So, for example, if someone comes up and asks, why you're not eating, or you can say something like, "Thank you for your concern, but I have everything under control," or "I prefer to keep my health decisions private." If someone comes up and asks, why you've lost or how you've lost so much weight or what's going on, I think the important thing is that we don't feel obligated to explain or justify ourselves and what's going on. It really is our business, my business, your business. It's not everyone else's. And you might choose to share with certain people and not with others. Well, that's your choice as well.
It is.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting on the sharing of your journey or your story. We do often have quite polarizing views on that within our social community anyway. We see a lot of people who think that, or who will preface it by saying, I was just honest, which can also give that implication that if you chose not to share, that you're being dishonest. I did not immediately share my bariatric journey online with sort of acquaintances or extended family. And it wasn't because I was trying to hide anything. It was just because it's a medical procedure, and everybody does not deserve access to my medical information. That is how I very much felt about it. Have I shared extensively since? Yes, I have. And that really did come about from some questions that my children received from school. They were approached by some parents and asked if mummy was sick, and I realised then that I needed to take that away from them so that they didn't feel that they had to answer those kinds of questions. And you know what? They are completely legitimate and fair questions to ask from people that I knew did have an actual care of my family and of me. Like when I had my bariatric surgery, just a fun fact, my children's school community did not know exactly what surgery I had had, but what they did do was provide 2 weeks worth of meals for my family.
Wow.
Like, that's incredible.
Yeah, something very practical.
That is incredible. And my family was so grateful, and I was so touched that they would do that for my family. So I didn't take it as necessarily a negative thing that people were interested or wanting to know, is mum okay? So I understand both sides of the coin. I understand, not really feeling particularly like you're ready to share it with everybody, but I also know what it's like to share it with everybody. And it is good to have those answers prepared, or at least have thought about it. When I'm out now at 6 years post-op, I don't even bother launching into anything about my bariatric procedure when I order. I used to, and Damo would roll his eyes. He'd be like, "You don't need to tell them." I'd be like, "Yeah, I know, but I don't want anybody to feel upset if I don't eat it all." Well, it doesn't really matter. All I need to do is say, "Hey, I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. That was great." Or I ask for half a serve, or whatever. I've just worked out what works for me, and you will undoubtedly work out what works for you as well.
Actually, interesting, and just a side note. I was looking at a restaurant while we were in Melbourne this past weekend, just somewhere for Kim and I to go to, and something that we normally wouldn't do. And I actually contacted this restaurant because the prices of all the meals were quite expensive, and they were quite large. So I sent an email and just said, "Hey, this is," and gave them just a little bit that, we'd both had weight loss surgery, and just wondering if they would allow us to share plates. And they actually emailed me back, which I was stoked about. And not a problem. We would love to have you. You can.
How amazing is that? That's so good.
So, there are a lot of places that are catering for people.
And sometimes it's just a case of asking, isn't it? It's just a case of asking, being brave enough to go, "Hey, can you?" And if not, like for me, it doesn't even worry me at all. Like, not at all. I would usually, in a situation, if a restaurant can't cater to a half serve or something like that, my family will just order, and I will have a drink, and then I eat something on the way home or whatever. If my husband's willing to have a gluten-free meal, then he'll order something, and I just have a small bit of that, because we've just worked out over time that it's better in our circumstance to do that and just enjoy the time together rather than make it a big deal.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy for it to be that way. So I think it comes back to our own comfort, what works in our own situations, and just doing what you're going to be happy with.
And what works for us.
Yeah.
What works for each individual, because there are things that I do that Tash would never have done.
100%.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And that's
Still
okay. Still wouldn't do.
Like, Dame does things that I won't do. I do things that he will not do.
Yep.
We are still the best of friends.
Yep.
Even though we have very different views.
Yeah.
And I think that is it's very interesting that we can agree that what is most important is to be respectful and kind to each other and to others, because we wouldn't try to enforce our own way of doing things on the other person.
And I think when we've been someone that, well, this is, I guess, from my experience, growing up, living in a larger body, dealing with the effects of obesity and people's opinions and all that sort of stuff, I was always automatically ready for the argument or for having to defend myself. And I think this is where it's so important that we don't have to argue. we don't have to defend ourselves. We don't actually have to say anything. And so we can thank someone for their opinion, but I'm doing what is best for me. Or we can even not respond to it. We can ask people, I'm not comfortable to talk about that. Could you please respect my boundaries? And that's okay.
And when sharing online. So when sharing you back things that you're enjoying, sharing your food days, people find them so inspiring. So my thoughts used to be, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk about how much I eat or what I eat, because I was worried about judgment. I was scared of what people might think of me. Now I don't care. I'm 6 years down the track. I've maintained my 100-kilo weight loss for all of that. Well, since I became this weight, my weight has stayed within 3 kilos. I love and care about people, but what they think about me and my dietary choices is not my business.
Yeah.
And I happily share my plates these days with the understanding that people will have opinions on them. Hopefully, if they are respectful of me and of my philosophy and values, they will not share them unless they're kind. But if they do, that's all right, because I still know who I am.
Yeah.
And I still know what I bring to the table. So please.
And hopefully it's a yummy plate of food.
It's always a yummy plate of food, let's be honest. And that's the other thing. We don't eat miserable, boring, awful food. It was funny the other day. I'd been making some content, and
what's that taste like?
Pretty yummy actually. And it was chocolate muffins, and one of the boys came in and he said, "Is it okay if I have one of these, Mum?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And he's like, "Oh my God, these are so good. Like, they really are. They're really, really good." And
you're like, yay.
And I was like, yay. Because they had like 200 calories in them, and they were full of protein, and they were just really, like fairly low in carbs as well, because for me that's important. And I thought, yay. Like we can have those awesome moments with family. We can make food that suits us, that still tastes good. Like, I do not lead a boring, awful food life. That's not my story. And I've been able to maintain my weight loss without like just being miserable when it comes to food. There have been times of misery because of conditions that I have, but it doesn't mean that I just allow myself to, I don't know, live on ice cubes or something. Like, that's not the reality of the bariatric journey. The reality is that your portions will increase with time. That's normal. It's normal that you're going to eat normal food. That too is normal. And like I said earlier, it is not the person that eats the least is the winner. It is the person that eats to fuel their life so that they can embrace everything. That is the winner.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, start practicing that mindfulness and just appreciating. I think we need to appreciate ourselves for the journey that we're on. And, if you are sort of struggling with that whole comparing thing and all that sort of stuff, it's important that we look after our mental health as well. Yeah. There's some great online resources. There's also an amazing site called someone.health.
Yeah.
And they provide
bulk
billing for psychologists, and there's even psychologists that are working at like 10 o'clock at night, so that, you know, people that are having that crisis, you know,
can access
the help. And it's usually only a 24-hour wait as well to get an appointment. So that's someone.health, and we'll put the link in the description as well, because Tash and I are both very passionate about mental
health, about looking after yourself, about understanding that when we're going through a bariatric transformation, it is challenging. It is challenging to change your life.
It
is challenging to be brave enough to walk out a whole new experience. And it does come with very real hurdles along the way. And one of them is food, learning about it, learning about what works, what doesn't work, and how you're going to journey that out in the longer term. So if you need help around that particular issue, there's ANSMOS with that you can reach out to. You can go on there, you can look for dietitians that have a specific interest in bariatrics that might be in your area. And that's a really powerful thing to do as well. You know, there are wonderful dietitians out there, but if they don't understand bariatrics, then the advice might not be suited to you. So make sure that you're accessing the best advice for you so that you can live out the life that you're actually wanting to get to. And that's the important part in all of this, is remembering that, you know, especially to others, if they aren't feeding you, fucking you, or funding you, then what other people think about you, your story, your life, your food choices, your exercise habits, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter.
100%. Thank you for joining us. We hope you got something out of this, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Love you guys.
Bye.